我想大家对我大儿子不是很熟悉。好，你们见到我大儿子跟我小儿子的时候，你就会发现，喂，这个妈妈怎么这么小啊？
是的，
这个是海关。我进海关的时候，海关说：“这是你儿子。”我说：“对。”这是你儿子。我说：“对。” Why you so small?
Oh, that's loud. I have a doc. I'm gonna just read off it, or maybe not. I'll see.
他要读给大家听他的见证。
So my name is Jing or Sun Jing. I'm a fourth year in UCSD studying business economics.
他今年大四，在圣地亚哥读书。
Yeah, and I think my mom has been asking me to get, or like asking if I want to get baptized for like the better part of, from like the end of middle school all the way to recently. So like from middle school to through college.
妈妈曾经问他要不要受洗，要进大学之前。
Yeah, so I've always thought about it, but it was never a super pressing issue to me. It wasn't super important on my mind.
对我来说，那时候不是很重要，所以我没有去考虑。
Yeah, and fortunately, I was born to two pastors and that's like a pretty unique experience as a kid, having not only one but two pastor parents.
我大概是唯一2个父母都是牧师。这是一件祝福的事，祝福 fortune 很幸运的事。
Yeah, so my childhood was very unique in that I spent a lot of my time in church, whether I wanted to or like not.
我童年是很特殊的，因为我不论要不要去教会，我都要去。
Yeah, so and as I've grown up, I've began to hear a lot of this stigma or thinking about pastors' kids or missionaries' kids, and how in church there seems to be a type where like they're very rebellious, or they don't really go to church, or they hate the church.
当我慢慢成长的时候，我就在思考，这个 pastor kid 就是牧者家庭的孩子其实在人的眼中，要不是就是很悖逆，要不然就是很乖，是吧？
Kind of. Anyways, and so I just started thinking more about my faith at that point, and like reflecting on in my life, how has God really moved me from being someone who like was in church, was like a good kid, to like, but it wasn't my faith. So like I had to go from a point where it wasn't my faith to realizing that I needed God, and that that this relationship that I built with him was something that was the most necessary thing for me.
我进大学之后，我就开始寻找到底这个信仰是我的还是是我父母的。
Yeah, and so I started to think at my journey of faith went from when I was a kid, when I was a kid and just not wanting to be in church, and then to at the end of elementary school, my parents and I moved to Taiwan, and I was in Taiwan for 3 years. And so adjusting to like the overseas climate and being in school, that was very difficult to like think about all these things at once.
小时候其实我也不怎么想去教会的，后来到了小学毕业，我就跟爸妈回台湾。
Yeah, so when I went back to Taiwan, it was more about like, oh, how do I fit in, instead of like, oh, I need to think about God. I think it's very rare that like a kid goes to church all the time and like actively thinks about his faith outside of church. It's like very rare for that to happen unless they have parents like talking to them about it.
我回台湾的时候，其实比较看重的是我怎么样去适应这个环境，而不是这个信仰的问题。
Yeah, and so at that moment when I moved, that's when I was like, oh, I'm okay. I don't really need like an active relationship with God. It's just fine that my parents have their ministry and they're doing good things.
然后我开始寻找我应该跟神有一个更好的关系，而不是因为我父母是 ministry。
Not really,
那
but 就是
你
就是我是觉得那时候我父母是牧师是好事 ，like it's good， 就是他们跟神的关系很好，但是我并不觉得我有跟他的自己有一个关系。So after that, moving back to high school, that it became even less of a priority. So I went less and less. My mom would like try to get me up in the morning to be like, hey, it's Sunday. Do you want to go to church? And I would be like, oh no, I'm too tired. I'm just gonna sleep. And
到高中的时候，其实我妈妈常叫我去上教会，但是我总是告诉她我太累了。
Yeah, and then COVID quarantine happened, and then I got into college, and then from like basically that whole period, middle school to high school, God was like the furthest thing from my mind. I feel like I didn't need it. I didn't need to actively pursue him. I was just around it. I was around it a lot because of my parents, and it was good, but it wasn't something that I wanted to look for.
疫情之后，其实我更就没有去教会了，然后就慢慢的，其实我觉得我不需要这样子的信仰，虽然我好像在这样子的周围里面环绕，但是我觉得不需要。
Yeah, so going into college, you would think like, oh, it's a big step in like a new place. Maybe I make some like changes. Maybe I like want to go back to church. But initially I did. For the first week I did. But since I didn't really understand the nature of like how like God's character and God's like love towards me. Obviously I hear these things as a kid, but like at college, without my parents is like constant stream of Christianity. I don't know. It's hard to think about it actively. So I stopped going to church in college. And for that whole year, I spent like just doing college kids things. I was just going crazy. Like, yeah, I was just.
大学第一年的时候是很 crazy， 就是跟一般的小孩是一样的。
Yeah,
所以
but
他没有再去教会了。
Yeah, in that time though, I was starting to pick up on things like the contrast between people I've been around, which was like a lot of people in church for like my whole life, and versus like the people who were just like non-Christians or even Christians, but maybe not even super diligent with their faith. Like, yeah, I started to spend time with, or like I started to see contrast between the two.
说的好多。
Okay, just yeah, but I'm just gonna keep going. I started to see contrast between the two, and at the end of that year, I looked back and I was just not very proud of the type of life I lived. It seemed very bleak, like I didn't have purpose. I realized that I didn't have purpose, and that was a very scary thing to me because I was looking at my days and the days were not well spent. I wasn't really doing anything, and so I realized that I needed a change.
我的生活没有什么目标，我开始发现我需要改变。
Yeah, and so that summer I decided a couple of things. Like I wanted to go work out, I want to read more, but most importantly, I decided that like in the summer, I decided that when I go back to school, I'll go to church no matter what.
第二年暑假我就开始想，我到底要不要去教会？
Yeah, and I had a basic idea of what church would be like because my sister goes to the church I currently attend.
最好的想法就是是不是要去姐姐的教会？
So after I went, I learned, I saw a difference. It was framed in a different way, building your own relationship with God and getting to know him through spiritual disciplines. It was something that I never really, I guess I was never actively listening for it. I didn't realize that I needed so much information. Like being in the church as a kid, I thought I kind of knew everything. That's one thing that happened, I guess, in terms of like church. I started to think that I knew everything because my parents were pastors. I saw so much. But in reality, my foundation was not good. I never built a good foundation for my faith. Reading and praying and being in community with like church members.
事实上我有很好的基础，但是我开始去进教会之后，开始要建立跟神的关系。
Yeah. And so that year, I was good in church. And then the following year, so like last year, I'm almost done.
所以去年我跟神的关系建立得很好。
Yeah, but so last year though, I started to realize that like I still had problems. Like obviously I knew I was gonna still have problems. It's not like God magically wishes those away, but like, man, I had some like personal like relationship problems and some like I was having some struggles with my faith that year, and I thought after I started going to church, those things would not happen.
其实我过去也有很多的信仰的问题也有很多的挣扎，但是慢慢的已经没有了。
And I still suffered through like the regular things that people would suffer, but I saw this one key difference which was that like it was a lot easier to get through. It was a lot easier to get through and learn something from it. It was a lot easier to. I saw myself grow in that year of like little struggles more than like I had in a lot of years of my life where I just remained stagnant.
我还有很多的挣扎，但是也慢慢的 go through.
Yeah, it was easier to go through. And so after that year and going into this year, I started realizing that there's never a point where I'm going to be perfect to be able to say that, oh, I am like one of God's children. It's something that I have to like, it's something I have to realize that, oh, I'm going to be like, I'm going to have to go through tough things. I'm going to have to go through tough situations and suffering, just like my parents did, and be able to go through that and lean on God first and go to God first. That's one of the most important things that I've learned from these past years of going back to church and being in the church is that leaning on God is the most important and running to Him first is the most important. So
依
like
靠神是我过去1年学习的最重要的功课纵使我也会面临到很多的困难。
Yeah, so I have two verses to go with this
有2
whole
节经文
thing.
跟大家分
The
享。
first one is in Matthew 6,
马太福音6
6:33.
章6:30
6:33. Matthew 6:33. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So
马太福音6章33节，你们要先求他的国和他的义，这些东西都要加给你们了。
And from this, I take away that like in everything that I do, there's also excuse me, there's also a similar like verse in 2 Corinthians where it says, whether it's eat or drink, do everything to the glory of God. It's very similar in that everything that I do, I should like try to be like Christ and chase that for the rest of my life, as well as in Ephesians.
另外一段经文，刚刚他提到的在哥林多
Ephesians 4.
但是现在提到的是以弗所书4章
1到6
1到6节。
1 through 6.
1到
As a
6节
prisoner for the Lord, then, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all.
好，以弗所书4章6节，我为主被囚的劝你们，既然蒙召行事为人，当与蒙召的恩相称。凡事谦卑温柔，忍耐，用爱心互相宽容，用和平彼此联络，竭力保守圣灵所赐和唯一的心。身体只有一个，圣灵只有一个，正如你们蒙召同有一个指望，一主一信一喜一神，就是众人的父，超乎众人之上，冠乎众人之中。 也住在众人之内。
Yeah, and so with that, I kind of want to just live like that. So praise the Lord that He can bring me back to
我希
Him.
望能活出像圣经以弗所书4章1到6节所说的。
Yeah.
赞美主。
Praise the Lord.
好，